Donald Trump's on an airplane going to the region in the Middle East, which is going to take a long time. So there's a long time without him being face forward with cameras. So we'll get to that. Literally, that's the point of this video. But he had a very long day before he got on the plane and went going forward, making a lot of news to get things started. Starting off this morning with a nice little executive order where he signed the order telling all pharmaceutical companies from around the world to start charging us what's the most favored nation rate for drugs. Essentially, whatever the cheapest thing you're charging overseas, folks, charge it us as well. And that means raising prices for other people and lowering them for us so that we're not paying for all your research and development. They have 30 days to figure this out, or the administration will do something. Now, this is not the negotiation that Medicare does with drugs that Biden came up with. This is a totally other thing. And it's also probably not going to actually fly. However, it's in the books. But that's not what we're talking about. No, that's just a teaser, wetting your whistle, if you will. Two other things that happened today on his way out the door on the plane onto to Qatar, which is one of the points there, happening today. Because he first got on this plane, which was, of course, Air Force One. Trivia note, there's actually two Air Force Ones. The difference is one has a brown handle on the door. That's the only difference. But both the planes are over 30 years old. And Donald Trump thinks they're kind of dumpy. So the nation of Qatar is going to gift us, hand us a brand new-ish Boeing 747-8 aircraft from the royal family. And that's the aircraft essentially at the same level of size and shape and durability as the Air Force One is, minus all the cool things the United States have, and probably plus a few bugs from the Qataris, because that's what they probably do. It's going to serve as a temporary Air Force One for Donald Trump only. And after Trump's time is up, in 4 years, he's going to take it with him to his presidential library. And that's where things get even more complicated. Number one, a plane that's worth over $400 million is a pretty big gift, the largest gift of all kind to a president or the United States. It will be officially gifted to the military so they can manage it. But pretty much bipartisan criticism. Everyone's agreeing this is a bad idea. Starting off with Democrats, lawmakers, senators, Booker and Murphy are saying that this is definitely a no-no, something that's against the emoluments clause, which means you can't take federal employees, can't take artifacts and things from other foreign nations without congressional approval. Congress might let it go, but the fact is, it seems like a bribe. It seems like they'd want something in return. It seems like they want some favor. Although Trump's like, they don't want nothing. They just want to give me a plane. The transfer is still under consideration. It actually has not actually worked through yet. No final decision has been made, but they have threw this out there, and Trump's like, I'll take it. They emphasize the discussions are ongoing between the ministries and the Department of Defense. Like I said, it's a bit more complicated than just give Trump a plane. They actually lift it to the United States military that's going to operate it, and from there, give it to the library, which is where things, like I said, get a bit more indifferent. Basically, Trump's saying it's taking too long for the new Air Force One, which he put into order in his last administration to come to fruition. So we need something better to fly around in. And says the Qataris are great allies, great people, generous offer, and they don't want anything in return. They don't want anything in return. Legal and ethical reviews are going on this one, so it'll take a while for this to happen. Right now, there is no Air Force 1.5 happening anytime soon because they have to work the details out on that one. However, details have been worked out by the administration for Donald Trump to announce today the arrival of 59 white South African Afrikaners as refugees. And he did this citing the genocides and systematic discrimination against them in South Africa, the genocides of the Afrikaners. Now, what people don't really think about is there are white people in South Africa. The Afrikaners are people who are descendants of the Dutch, people that originally came over to occupy the land, and they were in charge of the government for so long. Now it's more a coalition government, so it's not more mixed. But 80% of the population in South Africa is black, and they own about 4% of the land. And so as the government tried to repopulate, repatriate land from the Afrikaners to the regular black South Africans, there was some issues, there was bloodshed, there was going on. That's where the genocide comes in. Not really genocide, but that's where he comes from, that one. Now, the executive order was signed in February to expedite this refugee status for Afrikaners. Meanwhile, he is killing all refugee status for other people. because of the claims against violence and land seizures against the white people, the discrimination against the white folks in South Africa. So here we go with this one. Critics are arguing that, number one, they're selectively picking who gets their refugee status, and they're picking literally white people over anyone else in any other situation, such as Sudan, Afghanistan, and the Democratic Republic of Congo. There is genocide in the Congo. There is starvation issues in Sudan. And in Afghanistan, there are people who actually helped us fight those wars over there that can't come back here to the States for safety because Trump is not allowing that one. So despite the claims of genocide and other things in South Africa, people are complaining about that one. But the real kicker is South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, who's actually saying the U.S. government is full of mess, stating that Afrikaners remain among the most economically privileged groups in the country, emphasizing that the land reform policies aim to address historical inequities stemming from apartheid, not intended to target any specific racial group. It just so happens that the Afrikaners own all the land, and because of that, they're the ones being targeted to repatriate it, and they still have plenty of money in the process. South African government has expressed a concern that the U.S. policy may be influenced by misinformation and could strain diplomatic relations between the two nations. I don't think Donald Trump cares. He's bringing in people he thinks he needs to save, and those people, I'm saying it really loud right here, are white people. They rolled into Dulles Airport this morning and met with both supporters and protests for their situation. Some praised the administration for its actions as standing up for against human rights or for human rights abuses, against human rights abuses. You know what's going on there, including the Episcopal Church, who actually are assisting with the with this resettlement on racial ethnic justice for these folks, but didn't quite do it before. That's a bit of a iffy thing. But yes, there are protests underscoring the fact that the only people we're saving right now tend to be white people from South Africa, not black people from South Africa who lived under apartheid for forever, not black people in any other places or people of any other nationality that are of any sort of complexion that's not white. Just the people who are descendants of the Dutch who has settled into South Africa are here. So that's it. We're not even talking about the other thing. We're not even going into detail for the drug prices. That's something for later. We'll talk about that in a full hot take tomorrow. But just want to make sure I got some stuff done while Trump is on his plane still and doesn't have a chance to really report back to us. Make sure you got a chance to get a double dose of what happened today on his way out the door on the plane into Saudi Arabia. Qatar, I think, is one of those places, and UAE, that place. Not Israel. And Thursday, he may have something to do with the talks in Turkey between the Russians and Ukrainians. He may have stepped in for that one on Thursday. But right now, going to meet some folks who are going to pledge a lot of money. You know how this plays out. Comments are welcome on your thoughts on all three. 1, the drug prices, which is a topic. 2, the plane, which is a big topic. And 3, South African Afrikaner refugees coming for their asylum, coming to be safe here in the States while we're literally kicking other people back to their nations and what's going on back there. Comments, welcome.